always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams, then you hit your teens. Life ain't really what it seems, try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it.
Hi, my name is Kanso Ubulu, and animation is my workshop.
Slow till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being.
Hi, my name is Kanso Ubulu, and my educational background, I studied architecture at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Kumasi, Ghana. How did animation all start for me? I studied architecture, and that's where I was going. I was going to be, a great architect. But along the way, I guess man proposes and God disposes. I was going to do my master's in Spain. Applied twice in 2 years, and in the second year, when I finally got in, I had my submitted my passports for a visa and everything. Long story short, the embassy sort of and I was forced to. By then, I already resigned, my job in the architecture firm I was working, I was practicing, and so I was down and out, and in between I had been practicing animation, as a hobby, because I was fascinated with all the other traditional animations I used to see on TV. But I never really considered it as something that I would go into full time. But when architecture didn't work, I moved on to advertising, where I started to put my hobbies and the little animation I was studying into something, yeah. So the thing is, they kept on giving me jobs that I couldn't do, or I felt like I couldn't do, and with that I was forced to practice and keep practicing. And after 5 years, I became pretty good at what I now currently do. Animation is really, let nobody deceive you, it's hard. And it's time consuming, and it's something that requires a lot of hands. So the challenges I'd say I face in the country, and most animators do, is the lack of skilled labor. When you watch films, animations, live action, CGI, when you check out the end credits, you see a lot of names. Someone's job is to handle somebody's hair. Someone's job there is just to handle the clothes. Someone's job there is just to rig the characters, and that's it. Another person's job is to create the character. Somebody else's job is just to sketch, and they've paid the person, and the person's gone. However, in Nigeria, yeah, everybody's one man pull, and one man pull, you understand, it kills. So you have yourself sitting down, you have to draw, you have to, sometimes you write the script for the client, you have to create the character, show the client the character so that client approves before you go on to rig the character, animate, create the environment. And you are just one person. And another challenge would be that most people like to work, in silos. Yeah. So everybody's thinking, if I get this job, all the money comes to me, not knowing that if you're a team, you succeed in finishing the job in record time, and the money, you get to share it all, and more jobs keep coming in. Plus, the quality of the work is just going to be fantastic. So these are challenges that animators face generally in the country. Okay, my routine daily generally would be I wake up, say a little prayer, then I check my phone. Yeah, anybody that says they don't check their phones, they lie. You check your phone, check Instagram, check Facebook, see if the world has gone to crap, and then you get up, take a bath, and then look at my to-do list in a given day. If I have a meeting, I get into my car and I'm out. Go through the traffic of Lagos, go for all my meetings, come back, and then if there's pending work, then I tick all the boxes. Eat, don't forget to eat in between, and then go to bed. So my values are integrity and passion. Integrity, simply because one, I have to come correct. I have to make sure that if I tell you you are receiving this job at this time, my name is on the line, my business is on the line, and I have to make sure you're happy within that time frame. Integrity, because if I'm swamped, I don't have to collect all the jobs, you know, and I don't want to be greedy. Everybody's looking for money, but you don't want a situation where you disappoint in a given project, or on a given project rather, and your name is dragged, you know. So integrity. Passion, because I like to believe that I love what I do. If I don't love what I do, then I won't put in my all. I won't find new ways to evolve. I won't find new ways to treat your project like it's my baby, because every new project is one that, you know, I'm putting my heart and my soul in. I'm experimenting with. I must make sure that by the time I put all the ingredients inside the soup and I taste that soup, by the time I feed it to the people, they want more. Because if they want more at the end of the day, then I will forever be employed. What I fear most generally in life would be failure. I do not want to fail for any reason. Yes, there are times where you can't succeed in every task you set out to do, but I'd like to think that, you know, there's this challenge I can overcome. So one of my biggest fears is not overcoming said challenge. I'd be distraught. Okay, so a worst day specifically would be one where so I had typically on a given project, I try to make sure that before I start to animate, everybody knows what they want, the scenarios, everything's clear, the script is clear, the characters are clear, if there are characters involved, everything is clear, so that, you know, you don't come back, because once you start animating, it's basically like you're on a journey from Lagos to Benin and you've reached Ore already. You're almost done. This particular client, I had pretty much done everything that needed to be done, and then this was a 3-week animation, so we're 1.5 weeks in, and for all you animators out there, you can share my pain when I say the last thing you want to hear is after you've done all and you're ready to start moving limbs and make characters walk, only for them to tell you that the entire thing needs to be reworked. Now, obviously, based on the script, you've charged them a certain amount, and this client is telling you that they can't budge from that amount, but they want you to reworking the entire script from scratch. So now you're in a fix, because you don't know whether to reject the job or of course they're not giving you more pay. Typically you'd ask for more pay and then you feel alright, but they're not giving you more pay. You don't know whether to reject the job. Other jobs are hounding you saying, oh hey, come and collect, and you rejected those ones. So now you have no jobs externally. This particular one is you're about to start again, and the deadline hasn't moved because they want you to deliver for an event that's coming up on a set date. Hall has been paid for, everything. So basically you now have 1.5 weeks to do a 3-week project. What do you do? Eventually I had to reject the job. Again, integrity. because I knew that there was no way in any form that I could deliver on that work. So obviously I now lost all that money and then lost the other ones that were coming. So that month was a terrible month. Yeah. So what does my workshop mean to me? My workshop is animation. So what does animation mean to me? Animation means that I get to play mini God. It means I create things from scratch. It means that I make those things move, you know, make those things interact with people. It has changed my mindset about several things. Nowadays, when I drive, when I walk, when I'm online, anywhere, I see things differently. I see things in color, how things could have been done better by just changing one or two things. I'm more critical about my environment, and considering the fact that I studied architecture, down to environments, interior, exterior, design, anything, I'm just more critical about several things. When I move about Lagos, what could the government have done better with tarring this road, or with this bridge, or with this billboard, or anything at all? You know, what can I do? You know, how can I play my own part in society to make even the slightest things? I tell people that at the end of the day, animation here is everywhere. It's every single place. It's on lower thirds on your favorite TV stations. It's on your phone. It's everywhere. You go to cinemas to watch it. It's
Hi, I see you. Oh yes, I do. The struggles and pressure, I see you break the bias and rise above it all. Well done.
They thought they could bury you. What they Welcome to the IWD special event hosted by Tea or Coffee. It is my delight to welcome you to the show. My name is Modupe Jacobs. Welcome, guys. Okay, a quick one. I want to know where you are watching us from. Where are you right now? So in the comments, ensure that you put where you are from. If you are not in Nigeria, state it. If you are in Nigeria, where exactly in Nigeria are you? We want to connect with you. I want to know where you are from, and wherever it is that you are from, I'm saying welcome, welcome, welcome. So I mean, since 8th of March we've been talking about the International Women's Day and how important it is for us to have conversations surrounding women. Especially the theme for this year is very powerful. We are breaking the bias. Hashtag break the bias. What are these biases against women? I mean, we need to have these conversations and see how we can help fellow women. Not everyone is strong enough to break this bias, and that is the reason why we have to have this conversation, encourage our fellow women, and even teach guys, men, how to help women break the bias, how to contribute to this powerful force that is called the Women's Tribe. Okay, so what's the conversation today? We are talking about Okay, so what is the conversation today? We are definitely talking about, drum roll, we have 3 focal points. Climate change, we're talking about policy inclusion, and we're definitely talking about mental health. So we're talking about the reality of womanhood in Nigeria, the reality of womanhood in Nigeria. How easy is it for us to for women to be themselves in Nigeria, in this country, Nigeria. So that's the conversation we want to have, and we're having these 3 focal points. Of course, we have our guests here already to have this conversation, and our first guest is ready to take us away. But before then, like I said, I want you in the comment section to engage, get your questions ready, because we are going to be having a panel session where they get to answer these questions. So whatever it is that you want to know about climate change, about policy inclusion, about mental health, ensure that you get your questions ready, because we are ready to blow you away. Do not forget, it's hashtag break the bias. I mean, and when it comes to break the bias, there are a lot of biases, talking about the bias that women have against themselves. You know, we actually need to have this, because people don't even, some women don't even know that the biases they are facing are those against themselves, those that they have set for themselves. So we need to have this conversation. And also biases that we have in the office space, societal biases basically that they have set, and the box, the square hole that they are trying to fix us in. And we are saying no, we can be so much more. So why put us in a box? We do not have to be in a box. So do not forget, let me know where you are right now in the comments. Put it there. Are you from Abuja? Are you in Lagos? Are you in the UK? Are you in Canada? Wherever it is that you are. And I also want you to do something interesting for me. During the conversation, if you may, if you can, wherever it is that you are, do this. Okay? Take a picture and then post it and put the hashtag break the bias, the hashtag watch tea or coffee, the hashtag women inclusion, policy change, policy, you know, mental health, everything that you can put in that has to do with the conversation that we are having today. And also don't forget to tag High Impact TV. It's very important. We will be reposting. We want to have this conversation together. But before I continue this conversation, because you know I will continue talking, I will talk, but we need to go on a break. And when we come back, you'll be meeting our first guest, our first speaker for today.
Mojo. Oluwaseyi Mojo is an environmentalist from Nigeria. For the past 4 years, she has been creating and implementing grassroots solutions to pollution and climate change, engaging over 7,000 youths in African nations through her non-profit called You Recycle Initiative Africa. She was a delegate to the 2021 United Nations Climate Change with the support of the Royal Society of Protection of Birds, the UK's largest environmental charity. She is currently pursuing a bachelor's degree in law at the University of Lagos, Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Oluwaseyi Mojo. You're watching Tea or Coffee Panel Talk, the reality of womanhood in Nigeria.
This is still the panel session talking about the reality of womanhood in Nigeria. And if you are just joining us, welcome. There is something I told people to do on the comments. Let us know where you are connecting with us from. Wherever it is you are in the world, let us know so we can connect with you. And also get your questions ready, because our guests, our speakers, they are ready to have this conversation with you. So firstly, we will be diving into climate change. We want to know how the reality of womanhood when it comes to climate change, and we have Oluwaseyi Mojo here to talk about the conversation. Hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Okay, so now let me ask this question before I let you go straight into what you want to talk to us about when it comes to climate change. So why do Nigerians have to talk about climate change? I mean, some people might sit down and say, it's not really affecting us, so why are we bothered about it? So what do you think about that?
I think that's a very important question. And that's where awareness comes to play. Young people like me as environmentalists are doing the work we do because we really want to get more Nigerians and more Africans aware about prevalent and life-threatening issues like climate change. So the issue with climate change is that inherently it's threatening our survival on planet Earth due to the way it's warming the planet and causing extreme weather conditions. If proper actions aren't taken to mitigate climate change and help communities adapt to the aftermath of climate change, we would be at the terrible receiving hand of it, especially countries like Nigeria and continent like Africa that are trying to grapple with so many kind of issues, right? But still, the climate change is so critical for us to solve because inherently it's affecting it's threatening our future on the planet. Like, what is going to be the situation when I get to give birth to my children? Like, what's going to be the weather condition and all of that?
Okay, so I know you have a lot to tell us, so please go ahead, take us away.
Okay, so firstly, thank you so much for having me on this show, and it gives me so much delight to be able to promote more knowledge on this issue called climate change. So first things first, I'm going to be walking you through what climate change is, and then move further to how climate change impacts us as Nigerians, and then how it impacts women and girls in Nigeria and across the world, and also finally ending it all up with the way forward, how we can take action, how we can pressure our governments to take action. So firstly, what is climate change? Climate change can mean so many things to so many people. Firstly, climate change was initially a natural phenomenon. It's basically the long-term shifts in weather patterns and temperatures over time in a given place, right? This happened naturally before the Industrial Revolution, but sadly, after the Industrial Revolution, a new kind of climate change erupted, whereby it was caused, it's basically human-induced, caused by the actions of humans, and it's largely anthropogenic, right? So what kind of actions cause this issue? One of the major things that contributes to climate change at a very rapidly rising rate is the burning of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas, right? And the more this is being put into the atmosphere, the more this is being burnt, harmful emissions, greenhouse gas emissions like carbon, is being released at a very increased rate into the atmosphere, ultimately leading to extreme weather conditions like flooding, right? It leads to melting of the glaciers in the far North Pole, to causing sea level rise that leads to flooding, to so many other issues like affecting our agriculture. And then now climate change to so many people might mean in theory, might be like a theoretical kind of term to some people, but in so many parts of the world, climate change means so many things. For someone that is probably in the Philippines, it means something as the fact that they have experienced several life-threatening weather conditions, right, causing devastating consequences to their economies, to their lives, to their livelihoods, to their homes, right? It could mean the fact that we're having so many climate refugees, people being displaced from their homes due to extreme weather conditions. It could mean the fact that girls are being sold off to early marriage in communities that rely solely on farming and agriculture that is now affected by climate change. And I will speak on that very briefly, soon. So the next question is, how is climate change affecting Nigeria? So I'm briefly going to touch upon two very concrete ways climate change is affecting Nigeria. The first is for us in the southern part of Nigeria. I'm sure we can all relate to the very, very crazy floods that happened last year. Like, people were literally, it was so bad that you could actually use a canoe to row within places. It was really disturbing, right? The fact that some cars were even filled with water, some homes were filled with water, destroying properties, causing fatalities and injuries and so many other things, right? And so coastal cities like Lagos that are surrounded by water are sometimes affected by sea level rise caused by climate change, over time. And this is a very big and huge concern, because what is going to be the situation in a couple of years? I remember a story someone shared with me of how a man was deeply complaining to, she's an environmentalist too, and he was deeply complaining about the fact that he's so disturbed, like he said that he stays close to the shoreline, and he was so disturbed that in years to come, if not months, the waters would soon sweep away his home, right, that he has been staying in for years. So what would then be his plight, like what would then be his situation in the end if that happens? And if care isn't taken to like make cities like Lagos begin to set adaptation strategies to these impending climate crisis issues that may come, right, it will become very devastating when it begins to happen. And then with that being said, I'm going to now move to the north, how climate change affects the north. So as we all know, the north is a very huge supplier of like our foodstuffs, from beans to rice. Like it supplies us with staple foods across Nigeria. I remember the one time when onions was very scarce. Onions were like gold. So like I saw comedy skits of how people were like, onions, because the north had refused to like transport onions to something as little as onions has such a big impact on the whole country, right? That's to just show how critical agriculture in the north is to our lives all over Nigeria, basically. So the sad part now is that climate change is affecting agriculture in the north. How? Through variations in rainfalls. Now, farmers cannot like determine, oh, it's going to rain this time, or no, it's not going to rain this time. Like, it's really getting serious. And the sadder part is that in most cases, women are the farmers. Like, contrary to popular beliefs, a significant percentage of farmers in Nigeria are women, right? And they are sustaining on such proceeds from their farm to take care of their families and so many other things. So eventually, this impact of climate change on agriculture, causing droughts and variation in rainfalls, can affect, and even in some circumstances, like it's causing extremes. Like on one end, there are droughts, and when it finally rains, it becomes very heavy, like torrential rainfalls that sweeps away their crop yields, right, causing massive destruction in their farms. And if women like this are not supported to build resilience in face of these climate crisis issues, it can really get bad for us as a country in terms of food insecurity, right? That's why food is now getting more expensive over time. One of the factors is climate change. And moving forward now, how does climate change affect women and girls? The truth is that climate change affects all of us in one way or the other, probably directly or indirectly, but it doesn't affect us equally, right? Over time, it has been discovered that women and girls are more vulnerable to the impact of climate change than any other. Like, basically, women and girls suffer more increased gender inequalities, gender-based violence, and so many other issues arising from climate change. So one of the very first ways that women are affected by climate change is that now women in terms of climate-related disasters, where there are floods and very terrible extreme weather conditions. We in Nigeria, I think one of the major climate-related disasters we face is flood. But in some other countries, it can be as bad as cyclones, so as very, very detrimental weather conditions, right? In the end, women are then at the receiving end. They end up being climate refugees, being exposed to, being exposed to like several issues arising from their displacement as refugees, right? So like things like gender-based violence to sexual violence and so many other things that happens, right? Also in the north, that's greatly faced with droughts, women are having to cope with things like women and girls have to walk longer distances to search for water for their families. Like, sadly, women have the responsibility to search for, in circumstances like such, women have the responsibility to search for that kind of, begin to search for those kind of water, food for their family. So they have to work extra hard. Hence, the time they would have used to devote into other economic activities or pursue their education to help them, make them more relevant in the nation, they end up channeling those time into searching for food and water for their families. And then moving on, wrapping it all up, wrapping it all up, the truth is that in the end, women need to be supported to begin to build, especially women that are farmers in the north. They need to be supported to build resilience against this extreme climate change effect that is really affecting their lives, right? So they have to be educated. They have to be also women need to be given more support to be in critical decision making and leadership roles that can help affect their realities and their futures, right, as women in Nigeria. And ultimately, it's so important for our government to begin to take urgent action beyond making commitments and talking about the issue. They need to like move beyond all of the talking and the meetings to like making real concrete action, because we need to really jointly work towards adapting to this climate crisis and also trying to mitigate emissions. That's in terms of developed countries. So on a final note, how can you take action? One way you can take action is by learning about the issue, right? Learning about the issue and speaking up, right? And seeing ways you can contribute to also passing on knowledge to others. Yeah, so thank you so much. I hope I've been able to.
Thank you so much, Oluwaseyi. Like, that was so enlightening. So it means that it's not just about, okay, we're not affected now. It's a futuristic thing. What is going to happen?
We're affected now.
Now, okay.
Yeah.
Mostly in the northern side, like you said.
Yeah, but if actions aren't taken properly, it begins to compound and becomes more obvious, right?
Okay,
yeah.
So it means that we need to be aware. We need to create that awareness. People need to know what climate change is, how they can get involved, how we can salvage the situation. Because I think that one thing that is affecting us right now is that there's no proper awareness, or people are focused on other things instead of focusing on climate change, which is actually a big issue that's going to lead to other things.
Exactly.
So thank you so much for enlightening us, and I can't wait for the questions to come in, you know, and then you get right into it. All right, so we are going right into the next point, focus for today's conversation. We're looking at how the reality of womanhood in Nigeria, how it relates to policy inclusion. I know there was a conversation about this policy inclusion thing, but don't worry, our next guest, which is Halima Layeni, is ready to take us into it. But let's go on this break. We'll be right back.
You're watching Tea or Coffee Panel Talk, the reality of womanhood in Nigeria. Halima Layeni is an incandescent advocate against gender-based violence. She is the face of a relentless survivor of sexual violence and the founder and executive director of the Life After Abuse Foundation. Through this platform, Halima has empowered more than 7,000 persons, uncovered 128 cases of sexual child abuse, granted survivors access to free psychosocial with the support of 32 individual and organizational partners across Africa. Halima Layeni is a path blazer working for a world where everyone, regardless of age, gender, race, religion, tradition, or economic status, can live free from fear and violence. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Halima Layeni. You're watching Tea or Coffee Panel Talk, the reality of womanhood in Nigeria.
If you are just joining us, the conversation is getting even more interesting. Do not forget to let us know where you are connecting with us from. Take your picture doing the break the bias, you know, pose, and of course tag us. If you are not following us on our social media platforms, now is the time to do so. And also get your questions ready, because our speakers are ready. We are live, not just on YouTube, but on all social media platforms. So if you want to go to Twitter, if you want to go to LinkedIn, if you want to go to Instagram, please, we are live. Connect with us on any of the social media platforms. Okay, so we have Halima Layeni in the studio with us. Hi.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
I mean, it's a privilege to have you sitting next to me right now. I mean, I was telling you that before we came on, that it's amazing what you're doing with your foundation, because most people do not know how to move on, you know, after abuse, and I'm sure you're taking them by the hand and showing them the way and shining that light, and it's very amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, so now we want to talk about the reality of womanhood when it comes to policy inclusion. I know there's a conversation about this policy inclusion thing that has not been resolved. So I don't want you to do all the talking, because you have 10 minutes to take us away. So let's go.
So I think that the rejection of the gender equality bill is actually very laughable. I see the world is filled with two genders. I mean, the female and the male gender. So, and I believe that as human beings, as individuals, we have diverse issues. You know, men have their own issues, women have their own issues. So I just think that it's basic fairness to have women be included in politics, women to sit at the table, women to make decisions as well, to be included in decision making. I think that is just basic fairness. And I also think that the rejection of the bill stems from patriarchy. I just think that is basic patriarchy that is speaking underneath, you know, so I just think that it's basic fairness to have women included in decision making.
Now you said it's basic patriarchy. Do you think it's because, let me see, are they threatened by the power that women exude? Is that what it is? Because I'm trying to understand why, I mean, it's the 21st century. Why are we not including women in lots of things? Why is that?
Okay, I would say that from the inception of time, I think that men have been given, you know, this power from childhood. You see, even as a parent, give power to the boy child. You know, they leave the girl child to do all their chores, and then they just leave the boy child to spread his legs. And I think that many boys grow up with that mentality of superiority, that I am the superior gender. And we also see this play out in religion, in culture, in tradition. And Africa basically is mostly driven by, Africa is a very religious country. Nigeria especially, we are very, very religious people. We are so you see an average man will tell you that I know what is right, but this is what my religion permits. This is what my culture permits. And they go with it. Their decisions are always informed by their decision and their religion and their culture. And these are the people that are represented in the Senate on the national and the state level. So, I mean, what do you expect? It is who you are. So when you get to where the decisions are being made, it is still your values, your personal values, your religious values, and your cultural values that would still influence your decision. Which I think that is why, you know, we are where we are today.
I mean, that is why we are telling the youth to please do something and get there, so that we can have, you know, this inclusion. But then I know you've planned some things for us to enlighten us on some certain things. So I want you to look into your camera and then teach us when it comes to the reality of womanhood, when it comes to policy inclusion.
So I think that it's very important for women to be included in decision making, because you know, the reason why where we are today as a society, as a community, is because women are not largely included in politics. So we have the issue of gender-based violence, we have the issue of child marriage, we have the issue of, you know, unequal pay, we have the issue of, I mean, so many issues. I believe that gender-based violence is like the most common issue that, you know, is the most common issue in our society, basically. And which is why I believe that if we have more women represented in politics, would have, you know, I feel like currently, you know, there's a world war, you know, currently there's a world war happening, and I believe that if we have if we have women represented on a political level, there are so many things that would not even be happening in the world. Men are predominantly leaders. You see religious leaders, I mean, 90% of men are religious leaders. You see, you look at the ranking for world leaders as well. You see that many men are, I mean, you look at the United Nations during the world leaders meetings, it's always largely men. And we see that women are not really represented. And my take, or the solution I've come to prefer basically is, I mean, I'm a men's mental health advocate, and my solution would just be, I think that we need to begin to pay more attention to the male gender. I know that we all have, I mean, we all have this mentality that, you know, women suffer all these social issues, and the women have to be the ones that, you know, have to be focused on when it comes to, you know, care and support. But I also believe that, you know, the most endangered gender is actually the male child. It's not even the female child, because we've been advocating for an end to gender-based violence. We've been advocating for an end to the bias, basically, for many decades. And yes, our voices have been heard. You know, we've come up with the policies, but you'd realize that nothing has really changed so much. And from the line of my work, we've come to realize that the most sustainable way to actually end gender bias, the most sustainable way to end gender-based violence, all the issues that are affecting women, is to actually include men. You know, we need to begin to, recruit men as allies of change. We need to begin to include them as allies of change. We need to begin to educate them on gender equality. We've come to, in my line of work, I mean, I work with a lot of men. I've come to realize that the reason why, I mean, we're where we are today, why a lot of men believe that, a lot of men that are represented in the Senate believe that including a woman means that a woman wants to overpower them, or a woman is inferior, is because they do not have, you know, they do not really have the education. An average man doesn't really understand what gender equality means.
I mean, like you said, we have the religious factor and other factors that are informing the decisions.
Speaking of religion, for I believe that for many decades now, either by its silence or by its instruction, religion has too often communicated to battered women that you know, you should submit. I believe that the word submission has actually been abused on so many levels.
So would you now say that the reason why they are interpreting religion like that is based on their personal interpretation?
Well, I think that, again, religion is mostly dominated by the male gender, and most of these values are communicated through the altar, basically. And so, again, I believe that we need to begin to engage religious leaders in these conversations that we're having. So you shouldn't be having shows like this and just be including women. Yes, I know that is an end to gender bias, but I also believe that men need to be involved in these conversations. They need to be involved in these narratives. That's the only way we can change the thinking. That's the only way we can change, you know, the mentality of men and have them. That's the only way we can actually change policies on the higher level, by including men in these conversations, by educating them on gender-based violence, on gender equality, on feminism. An average man thinks that feminism means that a woman wants to overpower them. That's what an average man thinks. And we need to begin to just educate men on this, you know, on these issues, in order to, you know, create the change at the top level, basically.
Do women actually even understand what feminism is about?
Well,
I mean, we need to have that conversation.
No,
also.
I think that an average woman understands what feminism is. However, an average woman would react to issues surrounding feminism from a place of oppression. Women have been oppressed for so long. So I know that there's something called toxic feminism. I mean, you see them online, they hate men, they don't want to hear about it. But again, you cannot really judge them because they have been oppressed for too long. Most of them are even victims of rape, that they probably did not get help. So they're speaking from a place of pain. They're speaking from a place of, you know, oppression, basically. So we cannot really judge them. Again, I believe that having conversations like this would go a long way to reorient women as well as men.
I mean, I like the way you're having the conversation and speaking about men also being included. I said it in my introduction that in as much as, yes, we want to break the bias, it's not a conversation for only females, for women. Men need to be included. They need to know what they need to do, how to help. I know that, yes, in the generation we are now, we have men that actually do help women and stand up for women and say, you know what, a woman can do this, a woman can do that. But again, let's go to the structure of Nigeria. Does it really help to include, to, you know, put women in some specific areas? Do our structure in Nigeria allow for women in policy inclusion?
Absolutely. I think that with the right knowledge, knowledge is a very powerful tool. If you sit an average man down now and you begin to educate him on certain things, policies will begin to change on a higher level because he has a deeper understanding of women's rights. What does women's rights really mean? An average man would tell you that I'm a man, so I shouldn't be involved in cooking, I shouldn't be involved in cleaning. But by the time you sit him down and you make him understand that, you know, I mean, house chores even makes couples bond. There's really nothing wrong. It doesn't make you any less of a man. You know, getting involved in cooking or cleaning is not a woman's job. It's not entirely a woman's job. I mean, you both live in the house, so why should she be the only one cleaning? I mean, it's not a woman's job to take care of a child. I mean, you both brought the child to the world, and I feel like a lot of men do not have this knowledge. Like this knowledge is not something that these are not conversations that we have. So a lot of men are just in the dark. They really do not understand. So they just walk into marriage and they're like, okay, you know what? I'm the superior man. You know, I can't cook, I can't clean, I can't take care of the child. You know, I can't do any of that. I only pay the bills and all that. But I believe that, I mean, with the right, I mean, we're driving this conversation. And conversations, I mean, awareness brings actions and change comes eventually.
I mean, and I want to believe that men are watching us live, and I also want to believe that married women that have sons are watching us. Even single ladies that have sons are watching us. I mean, so it has to do with, I say that the society makes up the entire, you know, country, and also it starts from the family. You know, how the mother teaches her son to respect a woman, how she makes him understand that you're washing plates doesn't mean makes you less of a man. That you cry when you're hurt doesn't make you less of a man. You know, so these conversations have to start from the home, and that means that even at the grassroots level, you know, even women that seem to not be educated, we need to go into these spaces and have these conversations with them and educate them, because see, truth is, it is these uneducated people that actually have more children. And so if they are not educated enough to know how to handle their sons, the trajectory goes on and on. It's like a circle. It keeps going on. So I mean, thank goodness that we are having this conversation. I don't want you to go. But we have to, you know, we just have to move into the next thing that we have. But thank you so much, Halima.
Thank you so much for having me.
Please, if you have questions, she's still here. She's still here with us, so please send your questions, put in the comments, we'll take them down, and when it's time for the panel session, we would definitely ask your questions. Do not go anywhere. Follow us on all our social media platforms. We are streaming on different social media, all our social media platforms. Let us know where you're joining us from, where you are right now, okay? And if you're enjoying the conversation, I mean, put it in the comments and let us know how you feel about this conversation. And if you have contributions, put it there, let us know, and go on social media. Let us make noise about this conversation. Let people join in and come and learn about policy inclusion, about climate change, about mental health, and how it affects womanhood in Nigeria. We'll be going on a break, and when we come back, the conversation continues.
My name is Malcolm. I believe in accepting a woman's point of view, raising the status of our women through education, awareness, literacy, and training to empower our women.
I believe that women are one of the untapped reservoir of talent and skills, and investing in them is investing in our economy and the world at large.
A world where there is equal services, opportunities, and establishments open to all people.
In a world that supports diverse women regardless of any race or color.
I believe freedom cannot be truly achieved unless women have been emancipated from all kinds of bias and stereotypes.
For women's equality and inclusion in every human endeavors.
I want to wish every woman out there happy International Women's Day. Let's keep breaking the bias, stereotype and discrimination against women, and let's start accepting their viewpoints the more. I stand for breaking the bias.
Happy International Women's Day. Hashtag breaking the bias.
Break the bias.
Wishing every woman out there happy International Women's Day.
I stand for women empowerment. Hashtag breaking the bias.
You're watching Tea or Coffee Panel Talk, the reality of womanhood in Nigeria. Joy Iseki. Joy Iseki is a therapist and emotional wellness coach focused on working with individuals to do the inner work of healing themselves from pain, trauma, and disempowering beliefs that withholds the individual's ability to experience authenticity. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Joy Iseki. You're watching Tea or Coffee Panel Talk, the reality of womanhood in Nigeria.
Welcome back. That was the profile of Joy Iseki. And before we go straight into the conversation, do not forget, it's very important that you drop your questions, because right after this, we're going to have a panel session where we get to take your questions, answer them, and go further in the conversation. So yes, ensure that you follow us on all our social media platforms. Do the pose, the break the bias pose. Even if you are a man, do the pose and, tag us, let us repost, let us make noise about the conversations that we are having. We've talked about climate change and how it affects womanhood in Nigeria. We've talked about policy inclusion and how it affects womanhood in Nigeria. And I want to talk about mental health. Mental health is a big topic, and I'm big on mental health. So yes, let's have the conversation with Joy. Welcome, Joy Iseki.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's good to have you.
Thank you.
And you're looking so colorful.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're having the conversation about the reality of womanhood in Nigeria and how it affects mental health. How does it affect mental health?
Okay, mental health is really a wide topic. So I would say most times the biases, I want to focus on that biases, the biases that the typical Nigerian woman experiences, it has a way of affecting how she sees herself, and a huge part of mental health is actually how you see yourself, how you feel about yourself, and the way you think. Now, if the society is throwing it at me that I am not included, I am not a complete being, I have to be monitored, I have to be policed, what the signals that I get is that I'm not valuable, and that affects how I see myself, and that affects the way I feel about myself, and that has a way of having a negative impact on the woman's mental health.
Wow. Interesting. So I know that you have prepared something for us. So I want you to look into the camera and let's have that.
Okay. Yeah. I really wanted to talk briefly on how a woman can improve her mental health, a typical Nigerian woman now, because a lot of times we talk about the problems. We focus so much on the problem, but what can a woman do to actually help her have an optimal well-being? First and foremost, this is one of the things I tell my fellow ladies. it's okay to rest. You know, as black women, we've been told that we are super. You know, most times to describe a black woman, you want to use that word, strong woman, superwoman. And now it has become so accepted that we think that is something flattering. I don't think so. Okay. Yeah, when I was much younger, I used to think it was. But I saw that by labeling me as strong and super before I'm a woman, it gave me that kind of higher standards that I can't even meet up. You know, and that is stressing. So it's actually okay to rest. It's okay to say, oh, I have done this, I have done enough, and I want to take a break. Rest is a huge part of mental health. If you want to improve your well-being, you have to learn to rest. You have to learn to know when it's time to take a break, when it's time to shift back, you know, and just take care of being that woman that you are. It's very important. That helps your mental well-being. That's very key. The next one I would like to talk about is actually learning the habit of mindfulness practice, engaging in mindfulness practice. This is what I do a lot with my clients. Recently, I did some sessions throughout the month of February, and every Sunday we're actually having meditation, just meditation. And it was on my status, people were joining me in, and we're having it on Zoom. It was so new. I remember the first person that experienced it, he chatted me up. He said that's the first time he has heard of meditation. This is a guy now that has been hearing about meditation, you know, and he has seen some YouTube video, but that was the first time he had practiced it. Wow. Why is it important for a woman to learn mindfulness? Every day in every way, we're trying to break biases. There's a lot of stereotypes about being a woman, how you ought to dress, how you ought to speak. You are too assertive, you're aggressive. You know, you're too fashionable, you're an ashewo. There's so many things. So you don't even know who you are. Okay, now when you engage in mindfulness practices, you experience your beingness. You get the silence to be with yourself, away from all the biases, away from all the stereotypes, away from everything everybody says you must be, that you're fighting so hard to be, which is a lot of things that actually has a negative impact on how we see ourselves. I keep saying this a lot because the black woman struggles a lot with self-worth. And it's because she has to be this way, she has to be that way, even in figure. You know, the expectations for a white woman, even in bodily figure, it's quite different from the white woman. You have to be perfect. The thing has to be there, front and back, this and that. It's only when it comes to us, all of that. And it's stressful. So it's so hard to be a woman in this part of the world. Okay, so learn to practice meditation. Part of meditation is being silent, you know, learning to be with yourself, away and doing nothing. Away from social media, sometimes, not all the time, away from the news that you keep hearing, away from all the, you know, general things that is everywhere, and just being with yourself. Okay, it's important. And do you know one other thing that I tell people? What? To be mindful does not mean that you have to sit in one spot. It's just about being present. Okay. The way we are here now, I'm engaged in this. This is all that matters. My mind is here. That's part of being mindful. Because sometimes when we hear these words, they look so huge, and we're like, okay, how do I do that? It's paying more attention to your daily lifestyle, to the habits you're engaged in, to who you are. Okay? You can be washing the dishes and do it mindfully. You know, you feel the water, you feel what you're doing. So you're not living in that automatic, you know, unconscious lifestyle. You know, you're breaking away from that natural, you know, circle of unconscious lifestyle. It's very important, especially for we black women. I took time to actually start to practice this. It actually helps you to live the soft life. Let me use that word, because now people are coming to soft life thing. And then I would say the next thing is learning to enjoy activities and knowing the activities that you enjoy. It's not selfish, because we feel that if we're not busy, that means we're not being active. It's not always like that. It's okay to enjoy some activities. It's okay to be aware of those activities that you enjoy as a woman. Okay? We're so busy. We're told to be super, to be strong. You come back from work. You want to keep the house tidy. You want to cook. You want to take care of the kids. All those things are fantastic. But there are some things you can actually outsource and pay, you know, with just reasonable amount of money. But you don't feel guilty. Don't feel like you're lazy. Or less of a woman. Or less of a woman. Do you understand? Don't feel less of a woman. These things are life skills. They are things. They are things that everybody should know how to do anyway. You know. But here we are told, oh, it's only a woman thing. They are life skills. I tell people. I wrote a blog on how chores actually help children to develop the capacity to deal with difficult circumstances in future as adults. I wrote that blog, I think, like 2 years ago, and this year when Facebook reminder came, I had to comment on it, and I was looking at that. Why did I write that? Because I grew up with the idea that it's only women that needed to sweep, wash the dishes, clean the tough stuff. And over time, you realize that that thing helped women to actually learn to deal with life. Yeah. Because, see, if a child is called to wash dishes, it's not always palatable. You are telling the child to kind of clear off the mess. Now, when you give children age-appropriate chores, you're actually helping them to build grit, to be able to stand, in difficult circumstances and stay through. It looks little, but it helps. So once you see chores that way, you start to see chores as life skills, not a woman thing. Yeah. It becomes a human thing. Do you understand? Yes. So as a woman, it's okay to take a break sometimes and just enjoy what you love, the activities you love, and add that to physical exercise. This one is not difficult. I do 5 minutes every day. That's the goal. Yeah. Sometimes I exceed 5 minutes because clients would ask me, how do you keep up? As a therapist, I'm teaching people stuff. Am I doing them? Okay. That's the key thing. True. Now, when you talk about mental health, you can't separate it from physical health. And a huge part of mental health have to do with movement, our energies, the vibes. And movement helps us big time, especially when it comes to our mood. This is where physical exercise comes in. Stretches. You can do yoga. You can just do at the spot, jogging at the spot. I do most exercise just a few minutes to go into the shower, and it has helped me. 5 minutes. Sometimes I exceed 5 minutes. But I'm not trying to lose weight because typically here we do exercises when we want to lose weight. It doesn't have to be. I don't want to lose weight. I just want to keep fit, and then I also know the benefit that physical exercise have on my mental well-being, so I practice them. Dear woman, create time. Create time to do physical exercises, just do movement. Even when you're walking in the office, sometimes during the break hour, walk around the office. Always find a space to create movement. It's very helpful for your mental health, okay? The next one I would like to actually say, and this is so important to me, I tell people, find a way as a woman. In fact, this is really key to heal from your childhood trauma. We can't talk about mental well-being when there's a lot of mess, at the back. There's a lot of dirt, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of issues we have to deal with, okay? Learn to heal from your childhood trauma. Adverse childhood experiences like rape, assault is more common with women. Girls are raped, girls are molested, girls are abused, and that's a part of your past. Most times it's one of those things that you have to deal with. Now, as you grow up as an adult, you have to learn to deal with those things. Heal from your childhood trauma, seek therapy, work with a counselor, work with yourself, do self-healing. Whatever it will take you, please do not throw it by the side. Otherwise, it will be like trying to renovate a house while the foundation is faulty. That's where mental health has to come from. That's where well-being comes from, dealing with our childhood trauma. It's very important. I think that every one of us, especially as women, because women are more prone to abuses as children. So take care of that. Heal from the things that are holding you back.
I mean, it's good that you say women are, we shouldn't rule out the fact that men are also
but because we're focused on women,
exactly.
That's why everything here is around women.
And I mean, when it comes to biases, one thing I actually spoke about earlier on was about sometimes it's not even about the biases that the society creates for us. It's about the ones that we create for ourselves, based on what you talked about, either our past, or a feature in our body that we're not comfortable with, so we stay biased about it. And it holds us back from doing a lot of things, which in return affects our mental health. So I like the fact that you mentioned exercise, you mentioned healing from past trauma, and other things that you mentioned is very key for especially women to understand these things and take it into cognizance, because like you said, we've been tagged, some women are tagged as, oh, you should learn how to multitask, you're a superwoman, just learn how to balance it. So they're working round the clock. In fact, sometimes they even affect the way they run. And sometimes when it comes to mental health, you realize that you begin to forget some things because your mind is constantly working. And then you're not able to put it to rest and say, you know what, I'm done.
That's where mindfulness practice comes in.
Mindfulness.
It brings you to that present, because when you're multitasking, you're doing this, you're doing that. Again, the superwoman thing. Okay, and then you find that you're lost. You don't even know who you are anymore. You come to a point where it's affecting your relationships, it's affecting everything that you're doing. But by the time you practice mindfulness, it helps to improve your mental well-being. It brings you back to the present. You're able to experience your beingness. You're able to connect with yourself, and so you connect with other people on a deeper level. You experience life fuller.
You know, I like the energy that I'm getting from this conversation, and thank you so much, Joy Iseki, for sharing issues that surround women and mental health. I mean, a lot of people, I'm sure, have learned from this, and they are grateful and thankful, and definitely they would have questions, so you're not going anywhere just yet. The panel session is coming right up. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys, you should not go anywhere. Stay where you are, because right about now, when we come back from this break, we'll be going into the panel session. I hope you have dropped your questions, because we are going to be taking your questions, asking our speakers, and, you know, trying to answer your questions and even have further conversation. So do not go anywhere. It's about to get even hotter, more interesting. Do not forget to do your posts, tag us, follow us, do the hashtags. It is very important. If you're enjoying the conversation, let us know. If you have contributions, put in the comment section. Okay, now let's go for this break, and when we come back, we'll continue.
Do you know what it means to break the bias? In a world where women are not being treated fairly and right, it's important to highlight all the work that you've put in place. We're celebrating World International Women's Day with the theme, Break the Bias. Now, what does it mean to break the bias?
I feel like there's inequality in the world between men and women at the moment, so breaking the bias should be like equality.
Yeah, we break stereotypes, like we're trying to break out of what people see women as. We're trying to do things that people don't expect us to do. That's what I understand by breaking the bias.
For me, breaking the bias would be tearing boundaries, internally not limiting the possibilities as a person, either regardless of gender, age, or financial or mental situation. Basically, it's going beyond what is expected, personally, societally, religiously. For me, that is what it would mean.
Imagine a gender equal world. A world free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination. A world that is diverse, equitable, and inclusive. A world where difference is valued and celebrated. That's the world we want every woman to live in. And together, we can work to make this a reality. Individually, we're responsible for our own thoughts and actions, and these mindsets can help bring the change we need. We can break the bias in our communities, in our workplace, in our schools, colleges, and universities. Together, we can do this work. The theme Break the Bias is examining current challenges women face at work and in the society at large. It is paramount to start the conversation on how these difficulties can change, and how she's able to express her thoughts and feelings, and how she's given equal opportunity to a male counterpart without having to fight or work twice as hard before getting it. And most importantly, how discrimination at every level stops. On Tea or Coffee, we celebrate every woman breaking the bias, doing the work, and making a name for generations to come. Happy International Women's Day. We love you.
My name is Malcolm. I believe in accepting a woman's point of view, raising the status of our women through education, awareness, literacy, and training to empower our women.
I believe that women are one of the untapped reservoir of talent and skills, and investing in them is investing in our economy and the world at large.
A world where there is equal services, opportunities, and establishments open to all people.
In a world that supports diverse women regardless of any race or color.
I believe freedom cannot be truly achieved unless women have been emancipated from all kinds of bias and stereotypes.
For women's equality and inclusion in every human endeavors.
I want to wish every woman out there happy International Women's Day. Let's keep breaking the bias, stereotype and discrimination against women, and let's start accepting their viewpoints the more. I stand for breaking the bias.
Happy International Women's Day. Hashtag breaking the bias.
Break the bias.
Wishing every woman out there happy International Women's Day.
I stand for women empowerment. Hashtag breaking the bias.
You're watching Tea or Coffee Panel Talk, the reality of womanhood in Nigeria.
Thank you for staying glued to us, because we are right to the last part of this conversation, this panel session today. So everyone that sent in their questions, thank you, thank you, thank you. And also, I want to say thank you to my beautiful ladies. Now, I have 3 of you, and I feel like I got this girl power since. Okay, so we have questions that have come in. And the first question is for Oluwashe. And this person is saying, in what way is gender equality key to climate change?
I think that's a very interesting question.
Okay.
So it has been discovered over time that when women are welcomed into critical decision-making processes and empowered to occupy leadership roles, they can perform more. We can holistically and more effectively address the issue of climate change from communities, from the grassroots up, right? Okay. So women come with, sometimes most of these decision-making processes are dominated by just men, but then having women makes it more inclusive, comes with different perspectives. Like we've heard about how women are mostly impacted by climate change, so they come with real stories of how climate change is affecting them, right? And also it's so essential that we, for the issues of people in the north, for instance, that are grappling with the agricultural impacts of climate change, it's so important that we support them in building resilience to these various climate-related disasters that are affecting their life and livelihoods.
I can see when she mentioned inclusion, you were like, okay, so I'm coming to you. And this person is saying, I have a question. Please, what do we do about fellow women who do not even help this conversation? You know, when we're talking about sometimes we are doing our stuff. We are doing our stuff. So what do we do about these women that are not helping the matter?
Okay, so by that, I want to believe you mean toxic feminism.
Yeah.
So I believe that, again, like I mentioned earlier in the show, toxic feminism stems from a place of pain, a place of oppression. That's pretty much why we have so many angry women out there who are changing the face of feminism, basically. And how can we really solve that? I believe I've come to realize that many women who suffer gender-based violence do not really get the help that they need because of the stigma attached to mental health. So I am a survivor of child sexual abuse. I've had my own share of depression. I mean, all the struggles that come with, you know, having been abused as a child. But I'm here today. I'm helping, you know, hundreds of people, men and women, because I've come to a place of healing, because I've been able to find the help that I need. I've been able to get it, the support that I need, you know, professional help, basically. So I would just encourage women, if you know that you've been through any cycle of abuse or anything at all, rape, harassment, domestic violence, you don't just come out of it and then go about your life, because it's going to affect every other aspect of your life. So try to get the help that you need. If you can get medical help, I know that it's very important to get medical help. I know a girl who was raped, and she found out 2 years later that she was living with an STD because she did not get the medical help that she needed at that point. So it's important to get medical help, and it's also important to get psychological help. It's too important, like to get psychological help, get counseling. I believe that there's so many centers, so many NGOs now that are empowering women, that are helping women, and we should, you know, avail ourselves of those opportunities.
Thank you so much. Now, before we go into your question, people sent in comments. I mean, they were enjoying the conversation. So let's see. So for the comments, we have this is from Chronicles of the Leshes. Now this person is saying, even women are underrating their fellow woman. This is not just from a man, you know, and we just had something similar to that conversation. I mean, they say hurt people. So sometimes a woman is hurt, she has not healed from it, she believes that she should melt the same measure to a fellow woman. Or a woman is going through something, she has not healed from it, and she just wants to inflict pain on the next person that comes, you know. So, I mean,
I think that has more to do with some sort of social conditioning, because women are naturally raised to compete. You see that from childhood. So when we grow up, there's this competition. You walk into a salon, your hair is longer than this woman's hair. The next thing is, you know, she starts giving you that attitude. So I think that is just a social conditioning that, again, society has failed women. We raise women to aim for marriage, to aim for, you know, like a position in a man's heart. It's always like competition. I mean, we're beginning to, I know that, you know, we've made some sort of progress, but I still believe that, you know, a lot of us grew up with that mentality that you should aim for marriage. I mean, the whole point of you being a woman is, you know, for you to get married, you know, have a relationship,
have children.
Have children. We rarely hear conversations about get an education, you know, get the degree, you know, empower yourself. Is not really always about that. It's always about the man, how to please the man, how to do this, how to do that. And I think that most women are just victims of that social conditioning. And by having these conversations, we can begin to unlearn all those toxic values that have been passed down to us. I
mean, and even when you do get the education, that comes the superwoman. They're like, are you trying to feel like a superwoman? What do you feel like? And then in managerial positions, you now tend to struggle with being included in some certain things. I mean, it's just a whole lot. Now, Sarah Owusu is saying, very important, interesting conversation here. Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm glad that you're enjoying the conversation. And let me go to your question. Now, someone has a question. The person is saying, how can the biases highlighted in today's discussion affect the Nigerian woman's sense of self in Nigeria?
Yeah, I think I kind of highlighted that earlier.
Yeah, you did.
Because when you're often spoken against and you're made to believe that you're not enough, that's already leading to an identity crisis. Because you're going to look for everything else outside of you to make you complete. Whereas, by virtue of being human, you're already complete. Okay, the society makes men feel complete. People would say, oh, men don't take time to dress up. Men are complete. Everybody accepts men the way they are. But there's a standard for women in everything. How you sit, how you eat, how you talk, how you dress. It becomes a whole lot, okay? And then you feel rejected. You feel like you're not included as a whole. And that can cause a form of rejection trauma. Rejection trauma often leads to psychological trauma, and all of these have a negative impact on our well-being. So the key thing here is that society should embrace women as being part of humanness. Do you understand? That humane thing we give to men, let's give it to women. Let women just be. All right? Let me be the way I am and be enough. Okay, that way I learn to embrace myself. I learn to believe in myself. I learn to accept myself, and then I have an identity that is not focused on how you see me or how you think that I ought to be, but an identity that comes from within, from embracing my uniqueness, you know, from seeing my beingness. And I think that's what we just want. I just want to be. You know, I think women crying, and she was talking about toxic femininity. Okay, although it's a bit tough, you know, that word, but I get where she's coming from. Women are abused, the voice was not given, you're raped, you're assaulted. They said, oh, why did you go there at that time?
Why did you wear that
dress like that? Why did you talk like that? She's always the victim. And now, because they feel like society don't have my back, let me fight for myself. Do you understand?
Sure.
And in doing that, it can happen anyhow. Do you understand? So that's where all of those things, we need to have these conversations. We need to heal. You know, she talked about being healed from, you know, her own trauma, childhood trauma, and then because of that, being able to heal others. I was so touched because that's what we talked about. That you can't talk about well-being without talking about healing from your childhood trauma. I tell people that you don't do it, you will break down. I went through my healing process. Before I went through my school, going to psychology and everything, I had to go through my own healing process. Each and every one of us should learn to heal. Let's not use makeup to cover the pain. Let's have a total human makeover.
Okay, so someone just sent in a question, and the person is saying, is it true that more women are affected by bipolar disorder and depression than men, and why?
Okay, statistically, women are twice likely to experience depression in their lifetime than men. But men are more susceptible to suicide, you know, from depression. So women experience it, but because to a large extent, women have more support system. We have this girl talk thing. We're able to, you know, we talk about issues. You know, we learn to cry. You know, men are told not to cry, not to express emotion, so that helps them. But women actually go through depression, experience more depression in their lifetime. And one of the reasons why women go through that is because of all those things that we're talking about. Societal expectations from women in marriage, in the workplace. If a boss is trying to do the right thing, once she's a lady, they say, oh, you know how women are now. If a man is doing that same thing, they'll say, ah, his boss, he likes the work well done. These are biases. If she raises her voice, that's not how women talk now. My God, these are human beings. There's a time to raise your voice. There's a time to lower your voice. But once it comes to a woman, there's a label. And often is a negative label that is attached. Do you understand? We may go through all of that. That's traumatic and it's stressful. Okay, so that's why they are more likely to experience depression.
Okay.
Sorry, can I just say something?
Yes, you can, please.
I work with men. I'm a men's mental health advocate, and we've worked with about 6,000 men.
Interesting.
And I've come to realize that the reason why the United Nations are giving us these statistics of the fact that women experience more depression or women experience more trauma is because for men it is mostly underreported. And the reason why it's underreported is because of the silence culture. We stigmatize men. We tell them that, you know, deal with your troubles, deal with your trauma. There's really no place for their pain to find expression. They come out on the internet, they tell them, they tell the world, I've been suffering domestic violence, and the world tells them, you're a man.
Toxic masculinity.
Toxic masculinity. They tell them that, you know, I was abused as a child. His fellow men would tell him, you were supposed to enjoy it. And there's really nowhere for, I mean, we have so many prisons. You go to the prison yard today, we have more men in prisons. Because we do not have centers for men to get help. There's really nowhere, like, you know, we're currently working on a project to try to get a center for men. There's none in Africa.
Wow.
I mean, you're a mental health advocate. There's absolutely none in Africa. And then we're building prisons every day. So why don't we just build centers for men where men can, I mean, we literally went on the streets of Lagos and we interviewed men. Where do you go to when you're hurt, when you're struggling? Who do you talk to? And most of them were just saying, it's God. I mean, there's nowhere for their pain to find expression, which is why we have a high rate of, you know, violence in the world, because if your anger has no place to find expression, you take it out on the next vulnerable person.
Yeah, I like that argument, and I want to add to it, because sometimes we need to be we need to create the balance. Why do men not speak up? That's always what I ask men, because men blame, oh, I can't talk. Women, it's not difficult, it's not easy for you to talk to your fellow woman, but you try to because you're looking for help, right? I was reading a story about ancient Africans that there was this place, I don't know how true it was, but it's just like a parable. And they didn't have water nearby. They always have to go far down the stream to get water. And then one particular NGO came to that neighborhood and fixed borehole so that the women can fetch water very close to homes. It was not used. They preferred to go down the stream. You know why? Because they used that time to talk to themselves, to talk about issues at home, things they don't want their men to hear. Who taught them? So I think that men, and I said this during last year, when we were talking about Men's Day and Father's Day, and I wrote this on my Facebook. Men should also learn to open up. There's this ego. this I have to be a man thing, who do we blame? If you don't speak up, who will? Do you understand? Men need to learn to be vulnerable, okay? It's not easy for a woman to talk to a fellow woman about what she's going through, but she does it anyway because she's looking for freedom. She's looking to be free,
so
okay?
you're saying men should push themselves
men
also.
should talk. Because men always talk about women. When it comes to women, they have mouths. They talk. No, really, they are very outspoken when it comes to women issues. But when it comes to their issues, they are silent. There's International Men's Day, but we hardly hear about it. You see men fighting. Why do you have International Women's Day? What about your day? Men should leave women alone and focus on men. So that they'll be able to take care of men and take care of themselves.
I know we're running out of time. But I actually beg to disagree. As a men's mental health advocate, you would agree with me that decades ago, it was not, women could not freely talk about their issues. There was this stigma when a woman comes out to say, I have been abused. But what happened? We began to empower the women. We began to create a safe space for women to talk about their issues. Men do not have that. So you cannot blame men for not speaking up. I think that is a social conditioning that a boy receives even from childhood, that you're supposed to suck it all up. Every time a child tries to cry, you tell the child is a boy, you shouldn't speak up. And then they grew up with that mentality. So I don't think that is fair to say that men choose not to speak up.
I didn't say they choose not to speak up. I said men should learn to speak up.
Yeah, men should learn.
We have to give them a solution.
People would only speak up if there's a safe space.
And to speak up, they don't have to speak up openly. Men should talk to themselves.
You know,
it's a gradual process.
I feel like both.
Let them start from there.
I feel like both sides are very valid. I mean, that's why when we're having the conversation, we said it starts from the home. As a mother, how you talk to your son, you know, it starts from there, because this small unit is called the family is what makes up the society. You know, it's how you train up your boy child. Right. Will grow up. Maybe tomorrow he becomes the president of Nigeria. It's how you brought him, the mentality that you put in him, and societal values. You know that it informs his decision-making process and everything. So I mean, so both arguments are very valid. Now, Sheyi, how do you think the governments can come in enlightening us about climate change? Quickly for a wrap up.
Okay, so one of the ways government is already coming in is recently they enacted a climate change bill shortly after the COP26 United Nations Climate Conference, and it was really welcoming. But and one of the goals of the climate bill is to mainstream climate change, such that we want to see that at least in almost every sector, issues of climate change relating to that sector is being addressed. And actions are being taken to solve it. But one of the ways climate change, one of the major ways the government can improve awareness in climate change is by including it into the schools' curriculums. Like we need children. We are the ones that are going to inherit the planet eventually, and we have to be prepared to know how to, like, even not just me, like younger ones, younger than me, are going to inherit planet. So they have to be prepared to be able to weather this kind of situation that might come, and how we can begin to build more sustainable and renewable systems, and diverse from dirty fossil fuels and the rest. So in summary, including the climate change, promoting climate change education and including it into the school curriculum.
I mean, thank you so much, Oluwaseyi, because it goes beyond, we used to have a matan now, right now we're having a matan again. That is not exactly what climate change is all about. It's deeper than that. So when we have this included in the curriculum, people are enlightened and they know more, they know how to come in, they know how to save the situation. Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you for having us. Mean, this has been fun. I'm so pumped because this conversation, trust me, for everyone that's listened, if you agree with me, put in the comments that it's going to create something. It's going to create something in everyone. Everyone has picked something they're going to work on from here. I mean, from mothers saying, you know what, I want to treat my boy child better. From women saying, you know what, I want to be able to allow my husband express himself to me. Because sometimes women are the ones that don't allow their husbands to talk to them. So she's saying, you know what, I want to be softer. I want my husband to be able to cry in my presence, talk to me, have conversations that are bothering him with me. And from there, we have that ripple effect, that change. change that we are asking for. So thank you so much for having this conversation with me. To everyone that has joined us, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we cannot take more questions, but to those that sent in their questions, thank you so much. And do not forget, women, even men, keep helping us break the bias. It's very important. Keep helping us break the bias, societal bias, bias in the workplace, bias that you create for yourself. I mean, that's where mental health comes to play, and you having to deal with your past trauma and everything. Every conversation that we've had here is important, and do not worry, it's going to be saved on our YouTube channel, so you can go back to listen to the conversation and take 1 or 2 notes and 2 lessons. If you are just joining us, you are late. You are very late because we need to wrap up. So we are doing what? Let's strike a pose. Yeah, we are breaking the bias. So see you next time, guys. Bye. My name is Mudukwe Jacobs. Bye.